Hey guys, just a quick video. Wanted to do something on the computer today and really just wanted to try to piece together a bunch of really good slides and information on water um, pH. And it's really, when you're talking about pH, you're talking about hydrogen ions. And it's really I'm trying to think how to, it's almost like a triangle in the fact that if you move it towards one corner of the triangle, you're going to pull other parameters with you, um, if that makes sense. In other words, you can't have a tremendous amount of CO2 in the water and a high pH. Those two fight against each other. And I'm going to just try to go over this really quickly. But This is the standard pH scale that everyone's familiar with. I thought this was interesting that when you get into here, uh, and it probably impacts the ability for eggs to make it, is my guess. But I'm not really sure. But this is really, I've always thought of this scale as linear, which is not the correct way to think about it. For you people in the saltwater world, you're kind of in here in the high pH, or if you're in the cichlid, if you have a cichlid or African type tank, um, it's hard water and it's high pH. Those go hand in hand. If you're like me, you have a tetra tank, or Amazon. If you're going for tetras or angels or discus, uh, they're going to be pushing here towards the acid, and that'll make a lot more sense here in just a second. But what I wanted to show you guys, if you look at this scale, we pull this in. This really just kind of shows how it's logarithmic, and by that I mean a pH of 7 and a pH of 6. If it's 6, it has 10 times the hydrogen ions. If you see that, if you're a pH of 8, you have 1/10 of the hydrogen ions. Now, after saying all that, there's a really good web page I came across, and I'm actually going to put it as a description in this link. It was somebody who was dealing with the ShrimpNow website is what this is, and I'm going to try to pull this in so folks can see it. But hopefully it's not too shaky. But this person did a great job of breaking it all down, really simplistic, giving you really good charts. I'll put it in this video. You guys can jump off and go look at it. But they get into the different kinds of hardness, general hardness, carbonate hardness, and a lot of this stuff. I'm not a chemistry buff. I didn't have organic or any kind of. I mean, I had basic chemistry in college. That was it. But this little chart right here is was worth me doing the video. And this isn't my normal video. Normally I'm filming my tanks and I'm talking, and but this I just felt like was really worth pointing out. And I don't see who actually did this chart, but I will reference this link in the description of this video. But the interesting thing is peat and driftwood, they drive your KH down, they drive your pH down. That's just something worth knowing. If you look at special kinds of substrate, the ADA, mono substrate, the Amazon soil, I guess, it tends to drive all of these down. Here's the interesting thing. If you inject CO2, your pH goes down. That's why, for me personally, there's a lot of do-it-yourself kits out there for CO2. I will not put CO2 in my tank unless I have a pH-controlled CO2 system, because that's just the best way to do it. People I know that do that, their tanks are stable, they're spot on, but it's a little more expensive to do it that way. But not doing it with a pH-controlled CO2 system is a great way to kill fish and really mess up your tank. But notice, like coral chips, something else people do, I've seen multiple people suggest this. I saw Dustin's fish tank videos. He suggested this once where he actually took some like mussel shells and put those in his water, put them in like his filter. Actually, I think it was maybe a hanging filter. I can't remember, but some people put those in there to buffer the water, and it drives all this up. But notice it drives up your pH as well. So if you have an Amazon tank and you're doing this all the time, this is pushing it in the other direction. Something that I thought was really interesting about all of this, in the limestone, you know, if you have a cichlid tank, the kind of rocks that you're going to put in there are usually of a limestone material. They're going to buffer all this up, which is exactly what you want. If you look at the cichlids, and specifically the lakes in Africa, where a majority of the cichlids come from, it's hard water. They're lakes where there's a ton of limestone and rock formations that dissolve in the water and drive all this up, and that's what the fish is used to. The interesting thing here, aerate water. It drives your pH up and it drives CO2 down. This is the first time I've seen this in a chart, and I was really trying to find this because I just heard somebody that, you know, I went to Europe a while back and in the 80s, and they were so far ahead of how people do fish tanks in the States. And one thing I noticed, especially like if I was in few key countries, but the styles were a little different. But I was in France for a period of time. I was in Holland for a period of time. They had beautiful planted tanks, and I was also in Germany, which is like where all the tetra-based products come from. And you know, Eheim's based there. Amazing engineering. They really take filtration to the next level. And that was one thing that impressed me about the European style, is they really invested heavily in their filters, and they did some odd things that you just don't really see in the States. One of them is if any of you have seen the heaters that run in the substrate. Anyway, I don't want to tangent on that, but they do some cool things and different ideas. But the one thing I noticed is no one in Europe aerated their water. They were totally against it, and this chart just really helps show, if you're pumping air in your water, it's pushing the CO2 out. And I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. And I could be reading that wrong. If I am, let me know. I hope this was helpful. I hope this gets everybody thinking about their water parameters. They're all really related, which is for you newcomers out there, if you go to your pet store and you say, oh, my water's not hard, or it's not this, or whatever quality it is, you buy a big bottle and you're like, you know what, I just want it to be at this parameter, and you dump all that in. What you don't realize is you're moving other parameters with it. You can't just move one. It's kind of like, you know, I don't have a good graph here, but if you think about a triangle, we have pH, and then you have, you know, your CO2, then you have your hardness. If you push any one of those in one corner of the triangle, you're going to pull other parameters with it. So just a heads up. I hope everybody finds this useful. I'm going to try to do more things like that or like this. Let me know what you guys think. Welcome new subscribers, and happy Tuesday. Thanks for listening. See you guys.